Alright, so welcome to the first tutorial of Inventor. This is for Chapter 2. This is what Mr. Davis gave you, and we're going to go through each section, and today we're going to read and work through all activities in Unit 2 before completing the next bullet. The next bullet's where you actually get into this quiz, which is these few drawings, and I'll show you how to do a couple of those as well. But let's go on to Chapter 2, because Chapter 2 is very important. And the problem with Chapter 2 is teachers didn't make this crazy long packet. This crazy long packet, some engineer made it, and there's like a million bajillion slides on here. Some of it is really important, some of it's like whatever. But I'm going to go through this with you relatively quickly to kind of make it a lot easier and a lot more enjoyable than reading all these slides. So this is essentially what we're going to end up creating in the Unit 2, this Chapter 2. And this is a great first drawing for Inventor. And the reason why it's such a great first drawing is because it shows addition and subtraction when it comes to modeling, which is really important. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to open up Inventor. And make sure you click on Inventor Professional 2015. This is what we're working with right now. It might take a little while to load up. If this is the first time you've loaded up Inventor before, it's going to take a little while, and it might ask you a couple questions. Just go through the questions like as is. You might have to cancel or okay or yes or whatever it asks. While that's loading up, let's take a look at what we need to do. The first thing it's going to go through the introduction and explain about. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a two-dimensional sketch. We're going to apply, modify constraints and dimensions in a two-dimensional sketch. We're going to extrude, revolve, or sweep. Add additional parametrics features by identifying blah 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 blah. So this is what we're going to start off with. It's the adjuster design. That's actually what the part's called. So when we save it, make sure we save it to that. It's going to tell you to open up Inventor. It's going to tell you to do this projects things. I think this is a waste of time, so we're going to keep scrolling through that. Here we go. Inventor's finally loading up. It might take you a couple minutes to load up Inventor. Just let it be. My computer's not as fast as the ones you guys are working with right now, so mine takes relatively kind of slow. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to New. And when you pull up New, you're going to constantly get this little window. And this window is really important. It allows you to do different types of drawings. We're going to start today using standard.ipt. There's also assembly drawings. This is when you put multiple parts together. Here are orthographic multi-view drawings. And this is called a presentation drawing, which you can do simple animations, which is really kind of cool. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to standard.ipt, because that's what we're going to work with today. We're going to hit create. And again, it's going to show you standard.ipt. It's going to show you this is the application window. Here's the toolbar, the graphics window, 3D indicator. This is called the browser. Over here is called the browser, which is really important as well. This is called the view cube. This allows you to see different types of views. If you lose any of this, this is what you want your window to constantly look like. If your window doesn't look like mine from the get-go, come on, Inventor. Alright, so here's the toolbar. And here's a browser, and here's like your navigation windows. We're going to be constantly using the browser, the toolbar, and all the navigation windows. Sometimes this might happen to you. All of a sudden this ribbon will be smaller. Just click on to show the full ribbon right there. If you lose the browser or the navigation windows, this is the browser, here's the navigation windows. You need to go to Tools, and then it's they just moved it on us. I'm sorry, View User Interface. And then here's the navigation bar, so sometimes you'll check that. Here's the view cube, which is nice. Sometimes you'll uncheck that in the browser. I don't know what buttons on the keyboards will mess those up, but make sure you don't ever put your head down on the keyboard, because you'll hit some random buttons on the keyboard and it's going to mess up your whole screen. So make sure when you are on Inventor, you try not to hit the keyboard. Alright, so let's go back into this lengthy, long thing. Alright, so first thing you're going to do, once you get kind of used to everything up there, you're going to create a new sketch. So we're going to go up to 3D model and we're going to create a new 2D sketch. Click on 2D sketch. Now here's what's important. You always want to select the XY plane. Again, X is across, Y is up and down, and then Z is depth. You always want to start here, so it's always a good idea to select your XY plane. And then once you do that, that's what this whole slide is going to talk to you about. Create 2D sketch, XY plane, blah blah blah. Here's the ribbon. This is where all the sketching is happening. Go, go, go. Now what it's going to do is tell you to create a line. And it's not going to give you any dimensions. And this is kind of like the heads up display. It tells you your angle and your degree. I'll show that in a second. But again, this is so wordy. And a lot of this you really don't need. So here's showing you the constraints. We'll be talking about constraints later. And I think chapter 3 talks about constraints. So we're not going to worry too much. Here are the basic constraints. I'm going to have another tutorial that goes through all of these constraints with you, so you don't have to worry about that. Alright, finally we're going to complete a sketch. Here's the problem, is they want you to draw it up then dimension. This is a waste of time. So again, I'm going to scroll through again. This is showing you how to apply, modify constraints and dimensions. And this kind of gets confusing. Alright, so now, the first thing I'm going to do is they want you to draw it and then dimension it. We're going to draw and dimension at the same time. So we got to figure out what are the right dimensions. Alright, so let's go down to here. What we're going to do is we're going to duplicate what they show of these dimensions. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line that's 0.256. So I'm going to click my line tool. I'm going to click and I'm going to move my mouse over to the right. Now, didn't want to do that. I'm going to hit undo. Make sure you know where undo is. I'm sure you're going to make mistakes, just like I did. So again, I'm going to click one time, and then I'm going to move my mouse to the right. And what you want to do is you want to make sure your angle, you can kind of see it, it locks into place. It gives you all these crazy degrees, and then it gives you that 0. And that's showing you the constraint of a horizontal constraint, which is good. So let's figure out the dimension again. 0.256. So I'm going to bring it over. 0.256. Hit enter. Now it's really, really small, and that's good. Let's go back to it. And then 0.256, 0.150 up. 0.150. So I'm going to go straight up. So again, it's going to lock into 90 degrees. 0.150. Hit enter. Now it's really, really small, so I'm going to kind of do a cheat. I'm going to come over here to this is my navigation bar. Yours is going to be on zoom all, which is really nice. When you hit zoom all, it kind of gets you where most of your drawing, you can kind of see what you're doing. Alright, let's go back to the sketch. Alright, so now I'm kind of stuck over here because I don't know what this dimension is. So one thing I could do is I can use a little cheat, because I got this 0.256 down here. I can subtract it from 0.068, but I'm actually not going to do that. I'm going to show you how to work around it, okay? You can type in subtractions, but here I'm just going to hit right click and hit OK. And now that clicks me off the line. I'm going to get back on the line. I'm going to start from this point. Now when you start from that point, all of a sudden you got yellow, which gives you like that caution. Clicks on, oh, sweet, I got green. Green obviously means go. You probably learned that in elementary school. 0.316 is the next one. 0.316. Hit enter. And then I'm going to hit 0.68. 0.068. 0.068, hit enter. This is what I'm gonna do now is I know it has to go to the exact same length as here, so I'm just gonna drag it over without clicking, and I'm gonna drag it back. You can kind of see those dotted lines. You want to make sure you can see the dotted lines, and I'm gonna hit click, and then I'm gonna hit click again, and that kind of closes out my object. When my objects close out, zoom extends all so I can see a little better. I can use this pan tool, which is kind of nice. I can kind of center it. I don't know why it's zoom extend off to the origin. I kind of started away from the origin. So there you go. There's that dimensions. Let's go back. Oh wow, it's gonna show you zoom and pan. Man, it's like I'm psychic or some crap. All right. So now I want you to go back through and edit the dimensions, which is really annoying. So we're gonna go back through. It's gonna be 0.250, 0.250, and 0.75. So here I'm going to click and drag this over. I'm going to double click on it. If I double click on it, I can hit 2.5. Check. And then all of a sudden it makes it really big. Hit zoom extends all. This is going to be 2.5 again. 2.5. Enter. Double click on this. This is 0.75. Enter. And I'm going to double click on this, which is 2.75. Now I know I did that really quick. I'm just trying to make sure these tutorials aren't 40 minutes long. So if I go too fast, just hit pause, which is always a good idea. Every time I do something, pause it on the tape, and then do it on your Inventor, and then go back to it. Because I'll go kind of quickly sometimes on this Inventor, just because these tutorials can take forever if I go as slow as you guys actually need me to. Now we're going to hit Finish Sketch. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to hit this Finish Sketch, this big old check mark. I always like to hit Zoom Extends All again. Again, that's in that navigation bar. And now it's going to tell you because you need a depth. And to create a 3D model, when you add depth, it's called an extrusion. This is called extrusion. So we're going to hit the extrusion. And we're going to extrude it 2.5. So let's do that. We're going to hit extrude. Now a couple tips for extrusions is you want to make sure it comes out as a box like it is now. Now if it doesn't come out of a box and it gives you like outlines and they're typically in orange, you probably did something wrong and you need to go back through it and fix whatever you did wrong. Generally there's a gap somewhere. So what I like to do when it comes to extrusions, I like to send everything to the back. Right here is to extend it to the back, and the reason why I like to do that is because depth generally, the Z direction is generally depth. And when you think of depth, you're thinking of front to back, not back to front. So that's why I always send it to the back, which is this little direction 2. And we're going to change this, I believe it's 2.5 to 2.5, and then we're going to hit OK. Alright. Now if you mess up the extrusion, you can double click on this and you can make sure, like I actually messed up on the extrusion, you want to make sure you hit this little, make sure it's direction 2. I had it going 50-50, which it doesn't really matter. But to go back to extrusion, you can double click on this. And you can also go back to the sketch. If you mess up on the sketch, this is the browser again. You can click down on a plus and you can go back to the sketch. And it'll take you right to back to the sketch mode. You can change your size and then hit Finish Sketch again. And it'll actually change the extrusion with whatever you change. So that's a good tip too. Alright, let's continue on. This is showing you isometric view. You should know that from Unit 2. Here's the free orbit. You can play around with that. I don't like to mess with a free orbit too much. I think it's kind of sloppy. Here's the constrained orbit. Again, you can play around with those at your own will. Here's a panning. Panning is really nice. I showed you that before. It's a pan, or I like to call it the hand tool because it looks like a hand. But it shows you that if we had mice, since hopefully next year we'll have mice, you can zoom by scrolling in on the little scroll button on the mouse. So that's really neat too. Now here's showing you view cube and all that, zoom extends all. You can play around with all these at your own free will. But I'm going to show the